What was I doing? Oh, the Citizen Kane review. Man, I probably should have watched this a long time ago. I call myself a filmmaker and I haven't seen half the classics that are out there. Having said that, I call myself a filmmaker and I've just recently got a tripod. Well, I didn't get it. These amazing friends got it for me as a gift. You have Kent Fry, Ben Lim, Eddie Hannum, Henrik Debsky, Ian Scott, Jim Whitehead, Gus Baker, and Paul Zillard. Who knew a filmmaker needed a tripod? Thank you guys. I can't tell you how appreciative I am. Thanks. No. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. So much. I don't know, I can't tell you how grateful I feel. I'm always going to treasure it, and it's going to help me on my journey to become, a Hollywood film director. I have been getting a lot of use out of it so far, and thanks guys. This film got to play around with filmmaking. Like a kid with Lego pieces. You stack them all up and see what you can make. If it looks great, amazing. If not, you could refine it. But they got to explore the possibilities of what you could actually make. Now, the dynamic way it tells this story is fantastic. So, this is the 3 favourite things I found in the movie Citizen Kane. This film delivers a story with a variety kind of shots. From the golden age cinematic set stage style, matte paintings, the use of montage, the written word, and so on. What caught my eye was one of the first shots used in the opening monologue, describing Kane's life story. It was this, a voyeuristic handheld shot of a journalist's point of view. It's the only time this style of shooting is used in the whole film. With all the dramatic, subtle yet powerful camera movements, this kind of shot took me out of that cinematic experience and for a moment made me see Kane as perhaps how I would see any celebrity on any real news program. And for me, this is the first time I've ever seen it blended with an old black and white classic. Being shot in black and white really gave this film a great advantage in the way it did tell its story. See, unlike nowadays, you have to really think about colour, because one colour can have so many different kinds of symbolism attached to it. And if you use it incorrectly, it's not going to work well. But if you're not using colour, there's so many ways you can use light and shadows. For example, I love seeing well-lit and detailed shots. It lets you explore the world. And this shot in particular uses light and shadow so effectively. Consider this as we watch. Who is talking? And who is the subject of the conversation?
Why, till he died, she'd just as soon talk about Mr. Kane as about anything.
Hello?
Sooner.
Mrs. Thompson, let me talk to the chief, will you?
Hello, Mr. Ralston. She won't talk. The second Mrs. Kane, about Rosebud or anything else. I'm calling from Atlantic City. Then tomorrow, I'm going over to Philadelphia to the Thatcher Library to see that private diary of his. Yeah, they're expecting me. Then I've got an appointment in New York with Kane's general manager. What's his name? Bernstein. Then I'm coming back here. Yeah, I'll see everybody that's still alive. Goodbye, Mr. Ralston. Hey.
John.
John, you just might be able to help me. When
Yes,
she used
sir.
to talk about Mr. Kane, did she ever say anything about Rosebud?
Rosebud? Well, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Thanks. As a matter of fact, just the other day, when the papers were full of it.
It is obvious that the woman, or Susan, is the focus in this scene. We can tell she's sad because, well, she's drinking. We are attracted to look at light and movement. This shot uses these 2 elements quite well. As the 2 guys talk at the start, despite being in shadows, we can follow their conversation because they're moving around and speaking. The woman in the background makes minimal movements. However, When the man is on the phone, that's when the woman begins to move in the light, and it catches our attention. We can notice the man talking on the phone, but our main focus becomes the woman, which, cleverly, the situation is being narrated by the almost faceless man in the booth. We know he's talking because of subtle movements, but he's talking about our focus, Susan. If Susan was moving while the two men were talking, she'd be a distraction. And if she didn't move when he was making the phone call, it would be boring. It would just be a man on a phone. Because shadows are black, it does help with creating a frame within a frame. For example, I've got this frame right here. But if we were to reduce it, now we can narrow the focus of the audience just to this one little frame. While on the topic of framing spaces, this is my third favourite thing about Citizen Kane. How it framed within the frame. You see, there's plenty of it, and how it is used is fantastic. You see this shot? Single shot, and it shows the door framing Kane and Susan. You see this shot? This shot uses the door frame, as well as the darkness of the hallway, to frame Kane and Susan. Pushes in for a mid shot of both, and then reframes Susan within the mirror. This is another great one too, combined with a great camera movement that helps add depth to the world. While they are talking about the boy's future, he is playing like a kid in the very white snow, framed by the window. Now there is subtle use of the light and shadow / black and white technique to help direct attention. The snow is basically like, the balance between shadows and light. Black and white. Same thing. Grabs your attention. But what it also does in this shot is the boy's movements also captures your attention. The focus is the boy. Now the three adults are quite visible, and as an audience this can be distracting. Where do I look? Do I watch the boy, or do I follow who's talking? What this does is cause tension and conflict within the audience, which then helps build the tension and conflict within the scene. Huh? Now, there's a lot of modern films that try to build tension within the audience by making quick cuts. Now, a lot of modern films do this by using quick cuts. So, by the time your mind begins to process what's going on, something else changes. And then you're trying to figure out what happens then, something else changes, and it builds anxiety up. But what this one does, it lets the audience make the change themselves, rather than forcing it onto them. Alright, so I could go on for ages. There's so many different kinds of techniques I still haven't even yet touched on. Like the use of size and scale, the use of mise-en-scene, or the constant use of scale and screen time to show the level of power. Leading lines. So many of them. This film uses so many different kinds of techniques. For me, I feel it helps add to that adventure of discovering just who Charles Kane is, what Rosebud means, and just seeing how his life unfolded. Until next time, I'll catch you later. My name's Jake. Need coffee.